Good day, everyone. Veritas here. I've teamed up with Wida. He's given me this platform to speak to you guys via the new YouTube channel. That's at Wida, WIDA_vision, VISION, on all platforms. If you are a creative that would like to feature here, we are also looking for content creators, artists, designers, musicians, developers, and much more to get involved. So get in touch if you have any talent. The links will be in the description. Alrighty, let's go. All right, good day, everyone. So we're continuing the consumer versus creator mindset. And the episode that I'm going to do today is one I've wanted to do for a very long time. I had even attempted it a few times, but it was before I had done the recent podcast talking about creator versus consumer, the outer self versus the inner self, how time works, energy, frequency, vibration. And I had tried to do what I'm about to do before without any of that background, and it was so much of a challenge for me because it was hard to place that information in there without the background information. But what I really wanted to do for a long time is discuss the Gospel of Thomas. Very interestingly, during my transformation process, one day I fell asleep meditating on the couch, and I woke up and it was just playing on my YouTube channel. And I listened to them and I just got compelled to read it. And for anybody who's not familiar with the Gospel of Thomas, it was documents that there's some contention about it, some controversy. People have varying different perspectives on the reality of it. But long story short, it was scripture that was not included in the Bible. It was buried by the Dead Sea. And when I first read them, I was just, I don't know. It was funny because in hindsight, the way I interpret them now, I personally understand them my own way so much greater than I did, almost to the point where you might as well say that what I thought I understood then wasn't even accurate. But I was just obsessed by it, and I kept reading it over and over and over again. And even back then, the way I like to do things is I had this feeling that looking for the answers outside of ourselves keeps us in a consumer mindset and cuts us off from the source, from God, from infinite energy, infinite intelligence, the universe. It's this almost like a rule, kind of. In the Bible, it says good begets good, bad begets bad. Or you could say, from my perspective, consumer creates consumer, creator creates. I'm sorry, good begets good. Yeah, so a consumer creates more consumer, and a creator mindset creates more creator. And so I read them all and I tried to come up with my own interpretation of them. And what's beautiful about them, and I strongly suggest if anybody is interested to just take a look at them and just read through them. And one of the magical things that happened is I read them enough times and I didn't realize it that I was memorizing them. And as I was going through my journey and I would put two and two together on something, I would be like, oh my goodness, this reminds me of one of the scriptures from the Gospel of Thomas. There's 114 of them. So what I want to do in this episode is I want to read some of them to you guys, and I want to tie them into the consumer creator mindset. But first, I wanted to build a little bit more on what I had been talking about before, about how you can look at your outside world and work your way backwards or inwards and find that what happened outside of you is a reflection of what you did. That was a reflection of your intent. That was a reflection of your values, and your values were a reflection of your I am. And I'd like to see if I can present to you guys the way I see it and understand the power behind how we can truly make the greatest change in our lives. So going back to that analogy with the tree, okay? So I had said that, the tree at the heart is your soul, and then God is the small as a mustard seed, everything in your center. You can't even see it, you can't touch it, you can't feel it, kind of like the Sphinx's riddle, but it's there. And what you do is you seek, you ask, you knock, you call forth your future from there. And as you look at your rings of the tree, the further the rings go out, that's actually more the past. So the past has never been inside of you, nor has it been behind you. In fact, you could actually say you created your past right now. So now the interesting thing is that it's the way everything is it's not, doesn't really work like that. It's you only ever have the present moment. So in reality, although we can all have memories of the past, you can't touch it. You can't walk around in it. You can't do anything in it. You are in the present moment. And what you have done is at the heart of your tree, you have your own little concentric rings in there that make up your soul, and they retain from the past that no longer exists the information that you took from them. And so even though the rings keep pushing outwards in your past, and let's just say it's like it's more like a ripple. Let's look at it more like a ripple of water. You drop a pebble in a still lake or in a bucket or something like that. That lake's better. And the ripples just go out, and the further the ripples get away from where the stone dropped, the less energy they have, the less powerful they are, the more needy they are, the more limited they are. Eventually, they're just gone, like the past. But what we've done is we've decided to cling and attach to our memories and our beliefs and the values and the experiences in such a way that we forget that we are forever moving forward, hurtling through the universe, hurtling through space, hurtling through life, hurtling through infinity with everything around us in a consistent state of forever change. And so if you think about that, it's rather insane that we carry forth into the future so many of these memories. It doesn't make sense. What got you out of Egypt won't get you to the promised land. Why on and the crazy part about it is we cling some of these beliefs that we have that they call the core beliefs. We clutch them to our heart, to our chest. They're sometimes a lot of times they're subconscious. That doesn't mean we can't dissolve them or anything, but we have them all, and they project out into our world. So I wanted to kind of give an example of how we can trace back what's happening, right? So if everything is concentric rings, the reality is that your outer world is an inverted reflection of your inner world. And the first reflection is going to be, so you have your outer world, you have that circle around it, you have what you've done, your action. And the funny thing is you see so many people trying to diet, to stop bad habits and things like that, and they focus on the doing. I don't know how many of you guys have ever done this. I had done it so many times in my life where I would get really excited and inspired, and I'm like, I'm going to change my life. And I would go get a book planner or get an app to write down my to-do list, and I would sit down hours and I write down this super extravagant to-do list, and I'm like, but this time it's going to work because I'm going to put it in my calendar and it's going to remind me and all that. And it never worked for me. And I'm not saying, and there's a reason it didn't work for me. And it wasn't because there's anything inherently wrong with a to-do list. It could be great. Like if you have things you have to do and you just don't want to forget them and you put them in your calendar, that's awesome. But what I was doing is the reason I was creating my to-do list was because I wasn't doing things that I thought were important for me. And so I thought if I out in the world of action, I thought if I wrote out my to-do list, then that would make me do it. And actually, in reality, it made me scared to do the things because now I had an obligation. And I had an obligation to do something that didn't match my programming. And what I mean by that is, if I didn't, quote unquote, need the to-do list to do all of these things that I had been slacking on, then there would be no need to do the to-do list, but I did need to do them, which means that there was something inside of me that was preventing me from doing things that I believed I should do. So playing around in the world of doing didn't seem to do much for me. They say, you should have the willpower or something like that. Oops, sorry about that. I hope that doesn't echo into the thing. And so let's take a look at everything's a reflection. It's ripples outwards, right? So at the very center is your I am presence. So what would precede, or what would your action, what would be before your action? What is your action truly reflecting? Your intent. And a lot of people, when I use that word, when I'm working with people, some people don't like that word. I'm not really sure why. I don't know if anybody wants to key me in on it, but my intent. Now, the thing about it is that so many of us have walked around through our lives in a state of automation. We think we're acting, and we are in almost a complete reactionary mode, especially a lot of us before we've woken up. And for those that haven't had their awakening yet, they think that they're thinking, they think that they're doing, they think that they're acting, and in reality, it's all a reaction, and it's a reaction from the inner reflections that go back from your intent, right? So what about your intent? Your intent is automatically set. So your action is a mathematically precise, projected, inverted reflection of your intent. Which means that you really don't do anything, you just intend, and the body does it. When I walk across the room, what is doing? How am I doing the walking? What am I doing? Nothing. I'm intending to walk. And the body does it. If the body stumbles, I intend to to right myself or something. So then what's behind the intent? Our values. What we think we need and what we think we want. A value system. And then you ask, okay, and what sets the values? What we believe we are. What we believe we are. And that's not the very, very center. The very, very center is God, the spirit, your heart. It can override those beliefs. And that's why it says, be still and know that I am God. And it's when we find, for those of you who meditate, when you meditate, you can shut down what you did, what you need to do, your intents go away, they dissolve away. You find your center, right? And then your values go away. And then your beliefs of who you are, they're gone for that moment. And in that moment is when you can access your connection with God, with the universe, with the all. Because you, for that moment, override the system. You hack into the power of true creation. It's very hard to do that when you're on the outer layers, the outer rings, because what you believe you are automatically sets your values, which automatically sets your intent, which automatically sets your actions, which automatically sets the reaction of the world. And this is mathematically precise, guys. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. It just can't be otherwise. Sorry, it just can't. You say, I have willpower, or I can make choices. I could do 100 things right now. Yes, you could. But you'll choose one each moment. And what you do will be the result of your intent. And the intent is unless you're in that state of calm meditation where you're able to shut down your identity and go within to such a degree that it's not going down that chain of automation and access the true power of creation, you think you're thinking, you're not. You're not. Your thoughts are kind of projecting. And there is a way actually that, so for those who meditate more and more, we develop this ability to get to our center. Some people call it grounding. I don't like the phrase grounding. You ground beef, you ground planes that can't fly, you ground birds with their wings clipped. And anytime you ever have an immense amount of electric current that's connected to you, power, energy, the only way it's going to kill you is if you become grounded. I personally don't like that term. I understand that, walking around barefoot is good and all that stuff. I just don't, we went to school to learn spelling. Words can be spells. Those that live and die by the power of the tongue will eat the fruit thereof. Jesus says, what goes into your mouth won't defile you. It's what comes out of your mouth. Words are very powerful. I like centering, balancing myself. I choose to fly, and I will fly in my own manner as a result of finding balance and harmony throughout all aspects of myself. I don't want to crown myself nor ground myself. I want to find that perfect sacred union and harmony. That's why, actually, by the way, the Jesus fish, it's two circles overlapping each other, as above, so below. And that's really the goal here. The goal here is to find a balance between all aspects of yourself. But anyways, so what's really fascinating is there's a lot of scripture that Jesus said in the Gospel of Thomas that will, I think, give some backing to some of the things that I've said here. So it's my belief that the world around us is a reaction to what we do, to our action. But our action is a reaction, projection, reflection of our intent. Our intent is a reflection of our values, and our values are a reflection of what I think I am. And so if we don't find that center, if we don't find that ability to balance ourselves, be still, find silence, find quiet. It doesn't even have to be quiet. I listen to music. I don't sit any weird ways. So no, I'm not knocking that or anything like that. I lay down and I listen to some music. I have no expectations. It's my time to connect with God, with the universe. And I just wait until stuff comes. And I will tell you guys, I would have never imagined that I could even meditate. They diagnosed me with ADHD as a kid, and I thought I had all these mental issues and all these things because, that's what they tell us. But, and I just would have never imagined that I would be able to meditate, let alone enjoy it. And actually, that's when everything started happening. That's when all of a sudden I'd go to meditate and I would just get these answers. Sometimes I'd go to meditate, and then in my meditation, I would be asking questions to the universe and God, and the answers would just fly into my head. And most of the stuff that I talk about, guys, I'm telling you, I do not look outside for answers. I look for clues and I look for ingredients, and then I throw it all inside of myself. And then when I find that time, that stillness, where I find my center, it all just flows out of your heart. That's where, that's the center. It's your heart, it's the center of everything. And I have so much faith in it that I let it guide me. Even these videos, I don't really, I just get on here and I do it. And it's probably apparent. And maybe if I sat down and I wrote out all these details and try to structure it and stuff like that, maybe the conversations would flow in a more efficient manner. But and we'll see how it goes, and I'll make changes where the changes are needed. But for me, I really like just locking in my intent when I'm in a nice centered state and going into a flow state and letting it flow. I think that's when all beautiful creation comes. So anyway, so that's the reason I'm giving you guys this, is I wanted you to, in the Bible, they say, know thyself. And I wanted us to be able to look at, Jesus says also in the Gospel of Thomas, those who knows the 5 trees that never shed their leaves in the winter or the summer will not taste death. And there's more to it than that. I don't even know how I'm going to present this. I'm not even sure if I'm supposed to. There's some stuff that I've really mapped out, geometry, like you wouldn't believe it, but the 12 days of Christmas is actually a code for creating a mandala, geometric one, so you can recognize yourself. If you look around, it's everywhere. Look on the dollar bill, look on logos, look on colleges. They all know. They all know what it is, and it's the logos. And you can actually map yourself and create yourself, because the reality is you are, in my opinion, we are kind of like an extension of God, just acting out all different perspectives at a very, very center, and then on the very, very core, and that of which we can't see. And Jesus said, the Father is in me, I'm paraphrasing it really badly. The Father is in me, but he's greater than I. Like tomorrow. You can't be greater than tomorrow. Can't. You're here. And that it's that humility, that knowing that God is always a million steps ahead of us, and all we have to do is ask. It's that humility to never carry the beliefs of yesterday into tomorrow, if they can be shed and we can become stronger. And that's why they say pride is the deadliest sin. I'm actually going to have something to show you guys. It's really, really cool stuff with the sins and the virtues and the 7 chakras. It's absolutely amazing. This is one of the things that came to me in my meditation. It just popped in my head. And I was like, and I get the answer to the riddle sometimes. And I knew I was supposed to line up the gifts of the Holy Spirit, the 7 virtues, and the 7 sins, and somehow they related to the 7 chakras. And I'll be able to show you guys. It is so amazing that 3 of the sins are invert. So 3 of the sins are how you love yourself or hate yourself. Sorry, the 3 of the sins are how you hate yourself or devalue yourself. And then 3 of the sins are how you devalue the world. And then there are 3 of the virtues of how you value the world, and 3 of the virtues of how you value yourself. But what's really crazy is they're all inverted. I've actually mapped them out and stuff like that, but they're inverted of each other. So for example, greed. So greed is hunger, right? So if you want to have greed and take from others, and hunger, like grab more than you need that's taken from the community, that's if you devalue the world. And sloth is if you devalue yourself. Envy is wanting to take more from the world, and then lust is its opposite. Wrath has an opposite of gluttony. And what's really, really interesting about that is, they say glutton for punishment. It's my belief that people don't have these compulsive habits where they're doing something that's destructive to them because they're hungry. They're punishing themselves. And I know for myself, in my past experience, it was something very similar. So that's a whole nother episode. It's really, really cool stuff. Don't worry, guys. I am going to start getting into practical ways of having a litmus test to identify the consumer mindset versus the creator mindset. Plenty of things that you can actually do. But I just feel that it's so important that when someone is trying to make a significant change, that we're able to get in there with new information, shine some new light to not just say what to do in the world of doing, because we already know the world of doing is a reflection of I know, and I'm sharing with you guys my perspective, that the world of doing is a reflection of the world of intent, and the world of intent is a reflection of the world of values, and the world of values is a reflection of the world of I believe I am. And then at the center of that is the true I am presence. God said, I am that I am. And what has happened is, in your life, what got you out of Egypt that won't get us into the promised land is we were children born into a world where we had very little control and had to create these beliefs. We accepted the beliefs of our culture. We accepted the beliefs of the people around us, and they became a reality. And what they do, actually, so I want you to imagine at the center, very, 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 very center of everything is the mustard seed, that is the connection to God. We have built circles around that. Those circles are with this identity that we've created of our values, of ourself, our world, and everything like that around it. And sometimes we can build the circles around that connection to God that it's almost like we disconnect ourselves from the source of God, and we run through our lives thinking we're thinking and making decisions and doing things, but we're really just being an observer while the program plays out in front of us. And that's why, although I don't seek for answers outside of myself, I am very well aware that especially well, always. There's always the reflection of the world outside of us can certainly be of a lot of assistance, and that's where they use the term way showers. Some people say light workers or things like that. It could be anything. Counselors, where we can carry the light and share some new information with somebody else that they can use to break down that wall, that prison that they formed around their connection to source, to free themselves up, to have access to their connection to God. And then, because God is the creator, and if you can't access that, then you're truly not creating. You're just consuming more and more and more and more. And just like the Fibonacci sequence that I'd mentioned before, you think you're making decisions, you think you're changing things, but the reality is you're taking your present moment, you're adding it to your past beliefs. How could you ever change anything? You need access to the creator. And sometimes we're so mired in our own illusions that it's really helpful if another person come along, shed some light on the subject for us, and break through those illusionary dark walls of beliefs. So that, imagine like those rings, the ripples, and imagine at the very, very center of it is the most powerful, brightest, most loving light in the universe, omniverse. It's God. But imagine over the years, you've built these walls around it, and you think they're solid, and they look so solid to you that you can't even think of pushing against them. And all it takes is for another being or yourself, through some inspiration, God just breaks through it for you, and they shine light through that, and you get access to that. And that's kind of my hope here, is that we can all work together, share light on each other's illusions, and as a result, free one another. So anyway, so basically, I'm going to read off some Gospel of Thomas scriptures that I think supports the fact that the outside world is actually a vibration to you. As soon as you look at it, it's your past. As soon as you pay attention to it, it's now become the past, right? And it's a past reflection of the actions of yesterday, right? And so, and it's also a reflection of what you do, which is a reflection of what you did. Sorry, what happens outside of you is a reflection of what you did. What you did was a reflection of your intent, and your intent was a reflection of your values, and your values are a reflection of your beliefs. So one of the best things that we can do, and I'd recommend, is to start, if you haven't already, really considering taking some time and being still and knowing that I am God, letting God work through you, the universe, and just accessing that. Because if you don't, and you're sitting outside of the creation of a new I am, a new possibility of who you could be, a new possibility of your values, then you're just stuck running around in circles when we're chasing our own tail. So here's some Gospel and Thomas things. So this one I really liked. Jesus said, "Let him who seeks continue seeking until he finds. When he finds, he will become troubled. When he becomes troubled, he will be astonished, and he will rule over the all." Now, that one is many, many, many layers deep, and there's no way I'm going to attempt to get into the specifics of how accurate that is, because it's one of those things you have to see as we go more and more inwards, and we start just dissolving everything that we thought we know. But when he said, when he seeks and he finds, he'll become troubled. Well, why would he say that? It happened to me, and I know it happens to other people. When you start accessing the source within you, and making changes, it starts to dissolve that ring of circles around the circle of God, the universe, everything. It starts to dissolve that, and all of your other beliefs, it's like a web that branches off from those core beliefs. So you have these core beliefs of what I am, what the world is. I'm a puny human. I'm a human animal. I'm just floating around on this rock. Human animals can't heal themselves. Humans need doctors to heal them, and all these different things. Humans need to get their information from consuming it. Humans need to get their answers from consuming it. Humans don't have the ability to eat a very small amount of different raw foods and literally create all of the nutrients they need from those foods. Instead, humans need to eat protein of other animals, and they need to eat all of this stuff, and they need to eat so many grains of food pyramid. Wow. Anyways, but if that was the case, why would humans, which are the apex predator, the apex, the strongest, smartest, whatever animal on the planet, needs to eat all of those things, but yet you have oxen and you have bull, super strong, and they just eat grass. So it's all of those things, and that's why for those of you guys who have been awakening, who have been awake for a long time, or just ever experienced when you try to share information with another person that makes perfect sense to you and they rebel and they get angry, it's because they're trapped in the box of their beliefs, their value, and they don't realize. They think they're doing things. They don't realize that their intent is already set. So what happens is they'll get in an argument with someone, they'll react, and then they'll justify it after the fact. You know what I mean? But the reality is that's why I have a lot of difficulty even judging anybody now, because I know everybody is trying their best to live their best life, and they don't realize that they're stuck in a box, in a program. And that's why I'm doing this, by the way, is because Jesus was right. They really know not what they do. And I believe that if we be the light that shines on the world, I've noticed myself when I change my beliefs about the people around me and I just shine. He said, turn the other cheek. I know it sounded so crazy to me. I thought it was such a dangerous way to live your life. And he said, resist not evil. But I get it now. There is so much more, guys. But I realize also that my job is not to share all of these higher or deeper things that I've come up with, because a lot of them I would get the answer in my meditation, the statement. And it took me a lot of experiences to actually have it sink in. So I know just throwing it at someone, even if the mind understands it, it takes some, or the soul understands or whatever, it takes some time for it to sink in the mind anyways. My goal is to just get you guys thinking, shed some light on some areas that you might not have seen. And in future episodes, we're going to cover very soon. I'm going to have a lot of practical stuff on how can you tell how you are, with your body, are you being a creator or a consumer? With your will, are you being a creator or a consumer? With your mind, are you being a creator or a consumer? With your spirit, are you being a creator or a consumer? And that will all kind of play into the soul. So here's another one about that I think through the Gospel, Thomas kind of backs the thing about the outside of you is actually a reflection of what's in you. Jesus said, recognize what is in your sight, and that which is hidden from you will become plain to you. For there is nothing hidden which will not become manifest. Think about that. So imagine, what he's talking about is that outside of you is a reflection of your actions, but your actions are reflections of your intent, which is a reflections of your values, which are reflections of your beliefs. Those are inside of you. Those are hidden from view. Recognize what's in your sight. It's you. You are creating what's in front of you every moment. Now, for many of us, if we don't have access to source and creation, our past is dictating it for us. The kind of the world that we were in. But when we wake up, that's why Jesus said at first you'll become troubled, because you start to realize that everything you thought you knew about everything, yourself, your identity, the world, was an illusion. And it's scary. It scared the bejesus out of me. Oh, maybe I shouldn't have said it that way, but it scared me. Right. And then I started to really get it. And then I started to look at my outside like a mirror. And I am forever just scanning outside of me. When I get a feeling, a negative feeling, I jump on it. I'm excited. Okay, what is it that I can learn here? And now I have so much faith in God and I know God is not this man in the sky who just hates his children and stuff like that. Like and I'm not saying that they say that in religion or anything like that, but that's what I thought when I was younger. So I stayed away from religion. I stayed away from spirituality and everything because I couldn't understand why, but now I realize that God is inside of all of us. And I know it could come across as sacrilegious, but to me, is God is in all things. And there's a lot of scripture that I can use in future episodes to really bring that home, that it says it all over the Bible, that God is within us. Greater is he that within you than he is in the world. Unto him that is able to do exceedingly and abundantly beyond all that you ask or think. It's talking about your outer self. So who is it? It's God inside of you, able to do exceedingly abundantly beyond all that you ask or think, he that worketh in us, right? So his disciples questioned him and said to him, do you want us to fast? How shall we pray? Shall we give alms? What diet shall we observe? Jesus said, do not tell lies, and do not do what you hate. For all things are plain in the sight of heaven. For nothing hidden will not become manifest, and nothing covered will remain without being uncovered. So there it is. Now, when he says do what you hate, anytime you're doing anything that you think you need to, you're doing something you hate to a varying degree. Anytime you're doing something you dislike, you think, I have to do this, and I don't want to do it. Now, here it is. So remember, what you do is a result of your intent, which is a result of your values and your action. So when you go all the way up to that belief, usually when someone is, and I want you guys to start, like, just take the concept that I shared if you want, and when something bothers you, work backwards. Say, what illusion, so this thing happened outside of me. What action did I do that contributed to it? Okay. What was my intent at the time? And a lot of times you'll realize, wow, I don't even know what my intent was because it was automatically programmed. It just happened because of the beliefs and the values behind you inside of your subconscious. You can take control of your subconscious. When you do, when you marry your superconscious to your subconscious, when you marry your spirit to your soul, to your body, you create the two overlapping rings, as above, so below, inside like the outside. And that's why they all say inside like the outside too. It's all, the outside is a reflection of your inside. And the sacred union, that's why they give the rings, I believe, in a marriage. Look at a lot of Celtic, Gnostic, anything. Just you see geometry all over the place. And I mean, even Jesus' thing is, he was the anointed son of God. He was a man, and he had the power of God coursing through him. You know. All right, here's another one. Oh, and he says, so do not tell lies, do not do what you hate, for all things are plain in the sight of heaven. Heaven is within you. Jesus said it. He said the kingdom of heaven is both inside you and outside. When you come to know yourself, you will be known. If you do not come to know yourself, you will live in poverty, and you will be the poverty. Again, sounds an awful lot like he's saying your outside world is a direct reflection of your inner world. And if you know yourself, then you will be known. And what if you know that both your outside world and your inside world is a mirror reflection? Right? Another one, Jesus said, blessed is the lion which becomes man when consumed by man. And cursed is the man whom the lion consumes, and the lion becomes man. Now, this is an important one, because what it's talking about is your outer self. You were born, when you were a baby, when I was a baby, all of us were babies, we were full of the creator force. A lot of people don't think about this, but a baby couldn't move its limbs, not effectively. And somehow, do you understand, to move all your fingers and your toes and to do all of the with all the dexterity that you have? Do you know how much energy that took from you? And a lot of people don't think about this either. What is the baby doing? They say, oh, the baby moved his arm. Did the baby move its arm? Or is the baby sitting there running through thought frequencies at an accelerated rate and observing and recalling, retaining, and absorbing the recollection required to know that when I go 00001 and I send the frequency of this thought pattern, my pinky moved. And I do it again, and then my pinky moved a little bit more. That's what it was doing. It was running through frequencies like a mad child. Not only that, and then the baby doesn't have any reward offered to it. I mean, it eats and stuff like that. But it's doing all that driven by some force of creation, some unstoppable force. Do you know what the baby had to do? How often do you ever see an adult go through that much adversity for such little reward, just for the sake of doing it? Because the baby is full of a massive amount of the holy WHOLLY spirit. And what happens is the baby starts to collect data from outside of itself that tells it it's weak, it's limited, it's defined. And it keeps doing that its whole life. And as it does that, all of those holes, it gets a holy HOLEY spirit. And everything that it thinks it needs, every limit that it thinks it has, every illusion that tells it, you know, what it did yesterday affects what it does tomorrow. By the way, that's what a true judgment is. Think about it. What does a judge do? Takes someone's past behavior and condemns them to a prison in the future. So a judgment is condemning your future and imprisoning yourself in the future because of a past action. Now, the baby doesn't do that. That was a learned behavior. The baby basically is failing for 18 months to 2 years just to learn to walk for the first time. And the funny part about it is everybody says, he did it or she did it, they walked. The walking was the effect. The 2 years or 18 months of failing was the cause. And the baby is wise enough, if you want to call it that, or innocent enough to know that every time it fell down was just one more way not to do it. But somewhere along the line, we picked up these silly cockamamie ideas that our past failures, if we want to call them that, affect our future, right? And there's another one. And he said, the man is like a wise fisherman who cast his net into the sea and drew it up from the sea full of small fish. Among them, the wise fisherman found a fine, large fish. He threw all the small fish back into the sea and chose the large fish without difficulty. Whoever has ears to hear, let them hear. And what he's saying right there, by the way, when you have ears to hear, it's your frequency of beliefs. We can only hear that of which we can, unless we're centering ourselves and communing directly with God, which actually will make people have the ears to hear, or the universe, or whatever phrase you want to use, or terminology. But what he's talking about there is what I decided to do. I basically gave up everything that I thought was me. I left a 6-figure job I thought at first I was going to write a book. I tried writing this book, and something kept stopping me. Now I know why. Because I was trying to write the book with all the things that I had figured out that worked for me. I thought I was just going to write it all out and map it out, this perfect key for everybody. And I realized that, that wouldn't be fun. If someone could just hand you a book with all the answers. If God wanted it that way, you know what I mean? If we wanted it that way, it would be that way. But we wanted the challenge. And so it's fun to put it together. It's why we play games. Most Americans' suffering is actually the result of boredom, because they've imprisoned themselves to such a degree they don't believe they can do what they need to do. They can't hear their will anymore because it's been so suppressed, because our society's got us all backwards, and they can't hear their spirit anymore. And so they just kind of run around chasing their tail in duress and boredom. And so they seek instant gratification. But that's what this is. That's this stuff, I hope, as with stuff like this, not just for me, but from everybody, those of us who are waking up more and more, we can help shed the light for others to, if they choose, to wake up and free themselves. And I believe that the goal here is not to suppress your will. No way. But it's to make it the right use of will, if you will. And that is allowing the spirit to come in. And I'm going to show you guys that. It's really, really cool stuff. Like how you can turn the sins into the virtues. And it's when you allow the spirit to come in there. I'll also break down, it's really, really awesome stuff. And I believe it's how you reprogram your chakras. That you don't need somebody else to wave their hands over you. That all is mind. All you have to do is change some beliefs and some virtues and understanding, and then get that to sink in through all aspects of yourself. And it changes everything. And it gives you abilities that I won't get into on these, but Jesus said we could all that he could. Jesus said that we could do all that he could do and more. And I'm absolutely certain that is correct. And I think that's happening for a lot of us right now. I think a lot of us are waking up and we're realizing, wow, did I write this as a story for myself? To live through an illusion of shame, regret, anxiety, confusion, to one day just wake up and realize, whoa. So anyways, let's see. This has gone pretty long, so let me see. Another interesting one is the 17th one. Jesus said, I shall give you what no eye has seen. Sorry. Jesus said, I will give you what no eye has seen and what no ear has heard, and what no hand has touched, and what has never occurred to the human mind. Sounds a lot like that Sphinx's riddle, doesn't it? God in the future. Right? Or the beginning and the end. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. Disciples said, I've said this one to you guys before, but I paraphrase it. The disciples said to Jesus, tell us what the kingdom of heaven is like. He said to them, it is like a mustard seed. It is the smallest of all seeds. But when it falls on tilled soil, it produces a great plant and becomes a shelter for the birds in the sky. And I believe that's what we need to do, is we need to stop looking to our outer rings or even outside of ourselves. We can use the outside as a reflection. An analogy I have, if the outside world is a reflection of your action, ultimately looking to the outside world to change anything for you, if it's not radiating out from you into that world to affect it from your frequency, would be the equivalent of looking in a mirror and having, you know, crumbs all over your face and standing in the mirror blinking at it and waiting for the mirror to wipe it off for you. It can't. It can only show you have crumbs on your face. And if you don't, and the problem is that people don't realize this, so they look to the outside world and they're like, that reflection of me has crumbs on its face. Ugh, my life's so difficult because that reflection has crumbs on its face. It's like, you know, all we have to do is realize that the outside is just a reflection to show us where the crumbs are. Now, remember, the outside is an inverted reflection that can throw people off sometimes, which means that you can see someone and be like, that person, you know, someone might see someone and be like, that person's a jerk. They ripped the legs off Spider. That's like one of the things I used to wonder about because I was never spiritual or religious. I always believed in God, but it was my own kind of understanding, and it wasn't very, very deep or anything. But I was kind of just born naturally Buddhist in some sense. I still to this day, I can't kill things. I couldn't kill a mosquito. I got in trouble when I was a kid. If I'd get ticks on me, I would just leave them on there because I was afraid my parents would burn them off. I don't even know why I said that. Why did I even bring that up? Why did I bring that? I have no idea. Anyways, moving on. All right, so another one, Jesus said, actually, so this is kind of just I'll bring this up. It doesn't really have much relevance, but when I first started reading the Gospel of Thomas, I was like thinking it was a lot more codey. And he goes, I shall choose you 1 out of 1,000 and 2 out of 10,000, and they shall stand as a single one. So one day I'm like, aha, all right, well, there are so I Googled how many people were on the planet, and the first answer came back said 7.8 billion. I know that's not an even, just perfect number, but I was like, whatever, let me just do the math here. He said, I'll choose 1 out of 1,000, 2 out of 10,000. So what I did is I divided 7.8 billion by 1,000, and then I divided that by 5,000 because he said, I'll choose 1 out of 1,000, 2 out of 10,000. And then the answer was 1,560. So I was like, all right, let me Google that and see if there's any clues. And I Googled it. The first thing that came back was the Geneva Bible 1560, which was just really, I mean, I believe there's a lot more synchronicity and cool things about the universe that is even beyond my grasp, which is just, I just think that it's a lot more fun. And there's a lot more to it than we realize. And all we have to do is open our eyes. The more my eyes open, I see things that I never saw before. And it's just so remarkable to me that I went through my life and I didn't see that. But anyways, the Geneva Bible, the 1560, it was actually the Bible before King James took out and changed a bunch of stuff. And it had the Apocrypha in it. And I found some really cool stuff that has helped me out a lot in that. Apocrypha means hidden scripture. Okay, so another one, Jesus said, love your brother like your soul, guard him like the pupil of your eye. Well, if the outside world is a reflection of you, then, you know, we are 100% responsible for the world that we're living in that present moment. And so it would make sense that our brother eye is like our own soul. Did I say our brother's eye? Our brother is like our own soul. Another one, he said, you see the mote in your brother's eye, but you do not see the beam in your own eye. When you cast the beam out of your own eye, then you will see clearly to cast the mote from your brother's eye. The world's in a reflection outside of us, and we're always trying to change the people outside of us. And I will tell you something. I still don't fully understand how it works, but in my transformation here, a lot of disruption that I believe now in a 100% positive way happened in my life, but I just basically, everything fell away. And it was like rising from the ashes. And that was not necessarily the most comfortable thing, but it's funny because it's his brother, but my brother and I had some altercations, and it was like we weren't talking at all. And I had remembered a scripture that said in the Bible, they quoted it as Jesus said, in order to follow me, you must hate your brother and your sister. And I looked it up. I'm like, I don't understand why I should hate my brother and sister. I don't understand why Jesus want me to hate anybody. And I looked it up, and it means be willing to abandon. And it was funny because at that moment, when the altercation of my brother happened, I was like, you know, maybe that's what Jesus meant. I got to just abandon my brother, let him go. And I did, but I did so from my heart. I didn't let him go as in like, oh, I'm mad at him, I'm never going to talk to him again or anything like that. And I didn't realize the power of it at the time. I let him go of any expectations. I never really needed much from my brother, and so I thought that meant that I had already resolved my needs for him. But I realized that I needed him to not say certain things or act in certain ways to me. And now I didn't think that was a need. I thought it was common courtesy. You know what I mean? It was fair because I didn't ask things for him and things like that. And what I realized is that needs are needs. And I'm gonna give you guys an episode on this. It's really, and I'll be able to give you some really good examples to show you that everything is not as physical as you think it is. There is an energy exchange, and when you need people, you can almost imagine it like there's a string that goes out from your heart and it connects to them based on your expectations of them. And the degree that you expect anything from them is the degree that they can siphon that feeling. You ever hold the door for someone into the store, and you can almost see there like they deliberately don't say thank you or anything like that. I mean, of course, that doesn't like the feeling doesn't happen to me anymore, but even me, I didn't really need people to say thank you, but it's kind of programmed in our mind that it's just common courtesy, right? And so whatever that degree is an expectation. Or sometimes someone or they'll just they give you a rude face or something, and it's just like to you expect that somebody should not do that after you just went out of your way to hold the door open for them. It doesn't make sense. But here's what's interesting: think back to when that happens, and you'll recall that you got this little tinge, prickly feeling right around your heart because they were able to siphon that. You know what I mean? Or you lost it, you gave it away. Whenever we expect or need things from people, we give our power to them. A lot of people have difficulty understanding how I can live my life now needing. I mean, I do my best of my ability. I still uncover, and I need to eat. I've got myself down to just cucumbers and hemp seeds, and I've never been in the best shape of my life, so I don't. I'll have some podcasts on that. I think that we have been trained to overeat and eat so much toxins that people that think that other people have a fast metabolism, either they're just eating less poison, because fat cells. I'll get into that later with you guys too. I believe they store more poison than they do energy. If they gave you more energy, why is it the more fat you have, the less energy you have? And why is it outside of locations that have really cold weather, you don't see any fat animals unless they are, monkeys in civilian populations eating human food, or they're human pets eating processed food. So we'll discuss some of that too. Anyways, I'm rambling all over the place. Let me get this wrapped up for you guys. All right. Another one. Let's see. Jesus says, if two make peace with each other in this one house, they will say to the mountain, move away, and it will move away. Now, why would he say that? What if, when you figure out how to balance your inner selves and you get everybody in alignment, all aspects of yourself, so that you go from having, instead of denying your will to seek your spirit, or denying your spirit to seek your will, what if you can create a divine will? Our Father, Jesus said, in one of the things, the only prayer that he mentioned that he would recommend is, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thine will be done on earth as it is in heaven. What if that's what it is? What if it's to merge those two circles? And what if when you do that, and you have everything in harmony and balance, and you fully understand that the world truly is your reflection, it makes you very humble, because you realize there is nobody to compete against. The world is yours. A lot of the terminology that we had in what I consider to be an inverted world that we grew up in, a lot of the phrases that seemed so negative don't sound so bad when you look at it in that perspective. Maybe it's not so bad to be full of yourself. Maybe it's not so bad to think that the world revolves around you. All right, I guess that's good for now. How long have I gone here? Whoa, 53 minutes. Okay, so I've covered most of the theory stuff. I do want to do the chakra thing with you guys and go into the virtues, but that's going to begin a lot more kind of action-orientated thing. So the reason I didn't dive right into just saying what to do to you guys, what to do for you guys, is as you can see, my perspective is that messing around in the land of to-do without changing your beliefs, and your values and some other things, it's kind of pointless. It's why billions of dollars are spent on self-help books every year, and the same people keep buying them over and over and over again, because they all tell you what to do. And now it's time to access the true power within yourself, not outside of yourself. Light that fire and truly transform yourself, and you'll find that when you change those beliefs, You change those values, it will change your intent automatically. When your intent changes automatically, it will change your action and it will change your world. No ifs, ands, or buts. All right. For me, it's nighttime. Good evening, everybody. Love you guys. I'll have another one coming up very soon.